Hey, good morning, everyone. We're slightly delayed with a couple of different fun technology issues. You guys haven't ever experienced that, have you, Megan? No technology issues? Perfect. Love it. So we'll delay probably just a few minutes, and then we're going to jump in and hit it hard and heavy. But we're going to send some emails out to make sure that people that haven't seen the Facebook change, I don't know what's going on with our other Zoom account. So hang tough. We'll be right with you.
Hey, Jay.
Yep.
Is this like stats or just a regular partners meeting?
Stats.
Thank you.
Class. Yes, ma'am. No, thank you, Amber.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Oh, it's Amanda Clark. I haven't seen Amanda Clark on a Zoom call in a while. Good to see your face. I mean, I'd see the rest of your faces if your cameras were on, but I don't know. That might be too difficult for people these days. I don't know. I mean, Frank did his makeup this morning. Why can't the rest of you show your faces?
That's right. That's right. Everybody should be on.
100%. Participants. Invite. Copy link.
All right, everyone. I appreciate your patience with us this morning. Not sure what's going on with the Zoom world, but hey, that you zig when you have to. So we've got 44 people on the call. That means people are getting the right stuff. We are emailing everyone on the roster to make sure they have the right link. And we are recording the session as well so we can get it out. So without further ado, I want to say one thing before I hand it to Aaron, which is we just want to really thank all of our partnerships, both 210 Home Warranty, Catalina Title, Title Security, Old Republic, and Intraland, Arizona, not of Arizona, I learned this week, right, Aaron? Intraland, Arizona. And you'll be hearing a lot more from them. We've got some interesting training coming up. I think I saw Rachel on the call. Or Vicky, I'm sorry. Vicky, wave to everybody. There she is. Connect with Vicky if you have, if you need information about Red Day. Real quick, Leah, I see your message. That's great. Give us a plug about Red Day, and then we're going to hand off to Aaron because we got a lot to cover.
Good morning, everybody. So May 13th is Red Day. Who's signed up? Can I get a hand waving in the air if you're signed up? Woo, okay. So I wanted to remind you guys that tomorrow is the last day to order your t-shirts. So Cindy's gonna put the link in the chat box, and I would love to see you guys at Red Day. This is our opportunity to paint the town red and to really help a cause that matters in our community and is helping a lot of children. So we're gonna put the link in the chat box and sign up today.
Love it, Lee.
Love you guys.
Appreciate it, Leah, and the rest of the culture committee. Thank you so much. And it's an incredible opportunity. I hope you read the 2-Minute Tuesday that came out that explains why we do Red Day, why we love on our community, why we close our offices down. So if you didn't, go look through your hundreds of emails and find that one. It's called 2-Minute Tuesday and read that. All right, Aaron Wilson, it is yours, friend. I think we have a few things to talk about in the market.
Just a few. So before we get to the slides here real quick, talk to me. Actually, somebody give me the craziest story since we're in a crazy market. What's the wildest thing that you've heard of this last month? Maybe that you've experienced, actually what you've experienced, not what you heard, because some of that can be inflated.
I put an offer on a home on Friday night for my buyer, was in first position out of 8 offers. They got back to me Sunday, had 37 offers, and I lost, of course.
Okay, 37 offers. All right, somebody beat that. Talk to me. Give me a
42.
wild story.
I have one with 42 offers.
What was the price range?
The 160.
Surprised it's that low.
Yeah, it didn't go to that though. It went up to we offered 175 and we still got beat.
Okay. Anybody else have any kind of wild story that's going on that they had experienced? So nobody can top that?
It's all just becoming commonplace, Aaron.
Oh, this is commonplace.
Yeah,
This
there's
is
nothing wild anymore. I mean, wild would be, I got one offer and it was accepted. Woo!
what?
But no.
Yeah. So the list price is just a starting point.
So
This is-
I have one.
What you got there, Misty?
So, I know that there's been so many multiple offers on regular homes, but now I'm seeing them, like there was a home that was just cash offer only, and they had 8 offers. And the only reason why we beat it is because we said we went over, we did the escalation clause up to 35,000 above asking price, and we said when we closed. That was the only reason why we got that listing.
Ballpark price.
So it's kind of that one was starting at 175, and it was as is. You take it. The house needed work,
Okay.
and it was like that.
So what I just heard you say is 35,000 above list.
But it was cash, and this was we're seeing competitive offers even on the cash only sales.
Okay. So we get to experience, I get to experience a little bit about what's going on nationally as well in different markets, because obviously real estate's local. However, we're not in an extreme market like other markets that we're in. I'll give you an example. Talk to some people that are in Austin, Texas. List price, let's just say everything is selling anywhere between 50 and 65% above list price. Okay, I'll repeat that. 50 to 65% above list price. What I heard you just say is 175 and 35% over. That's basically, we're looking at about 15% there. Not 50, not 65. Just think about that in relation to what else is going on nationally. Now, here's the thing. Today's going to be a little bit different because we're going to talk about some tactics maybe towards the end. And also from a grand scheme of things, what in the world is going on? And a little bit of predictive analytics. And that's going to be kind of towards the end today, because the stats are the stats. The stats are, they're old. Everything that you see today was already printed out and done basically a month and a half to maybe about 2 months ago. So this is the past. What I want to concentrate on is how you're going to position yourself in the future. Because right now, obviously, the majority of us have been in real estate for a year or longer. If you have not, you haven't experienced this, and you actually have a little bit of the advantage, because we have our habitual routine in our heads. What I mean by that, and I'm going to use Leah as an example because she's just the first one that popped up here. Are there times when when you're dealing with a buyer to where you're like, you know what? Oh my gosh, that's way over what the value of that property is.
Yeah, just recently, they way overpaid and waived the inspection period and waived the appraisal.
Okay.
And then I had agents in the neighborhood calling me saying, what was up with this deal? And I'm like, yeah, there was more than one buyer that was willing to pay what my buyer paid for it.
Yep.
It's nuts.
So from an emotional standpoint, I think sometimes what we have to do is we have to really dig deep into what their situation is and not really, because here's the deal, the comps, I get it. The comps are the comps. We know that right now you're going to see something that today, that this is the first time ever in history in Tucson that the list price to sales price ratio is over 100%. So what that means is it's just a starting point. Doesn't mean anything other than that.
Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a suggestion then. We've done this stats class a lot. I think we need to breeze through the stats and get on to what you're talking about and let there be more discussion in this hour.
Okay, you got it. So the thing is this can be broken down into many different segments here. Okay, so right off the bat, do me a favor there, James. Can you go ahead and bring up the slides, and then I'll go ahead and take control of them, and then we'll kind of go from there. I am going to go a little bit faster through the slides today so we can have discussion.
Yes.
Okay, is that fair? You guys, here's the thing. A lot of these are recorded. So if you really want to play catch up, go back and watch the other ones. If you want to get into the nitty gritty details of what we cover. But I'm basically going to tie it in today to kind of give it a little bit of a predictive future. So go ahead there, James, and start off with the screen. All right. Can you do me a favor and go into present mode when you do get a chance? There we go. Okay, so as he brings that up there, we're going to have a little bit of a discussion so we're not in stalemate here. This is the very first sheet, and obviously we all have access to this. This is just a kind of a precursor of what is happening in the market in a verbal format, okay? So that being said, what I'm going to do is if I can get to mine on a paper copy, I'm going to actually go ahead and read it off while he figures out how to get it into present mode. Maybe not. Video, unless somebody can, there we go. Can somebody read that by chance?
I can read it.
Go for it.
Median sales price increased 25.5% to $320,000 for a single family. While many home builders are working to increase their activity, the cost of lumber and other materials and a backlogged supply chain continue to limit new home construction and have increased costs substantially. New methods of construction, including 3D printed homes, could speed construction and reduce cost in the future, but realistically are several years away from making a measurable impact in the market.
Okay. So do me a favor, somebody talk to me about what stands out just in the verbiage alone right there.
3D printed houses.
Lego homes, baby. Let's go.
That's an interesting one.
Lego
Yeah.
homes.
Anything else?
25% increase.
Yep. That's a huge increase off of something that's leveraged money there. What else?
Shortage of materials.
Shortage of materials. Yep. So I just saw that shortage of materials isn't going away anytime soon either. So what is that? What is that a predictor of what's going to happen to prices in the future?
In continued increases.
Continue to rise.
Okay. So here's the thing, and I'm going to say this is as clear as possible without any kind of an emotion to it. The buyers that you currently have right now, they may be qualified, obviously, and they've got their pre-qual. They're qualified to get a loan. They're just not qualified for this market. I want to be very clear on that. If you're going out putting 20, 30 different offers out there with that particular buyer that doesn't have the cash to come in with, they just probably aren't qualified for this market. That's a punch in the gut to a lot of different buyers. Now, here's the thing. This data right here, when you put it in front of them, don't tell them about it, put it in front of them so they can see it. They can see the list price to sales price ratio. They can see the prices going up. They can read the verbiage on here. So it's not you trying to quote unquote give them a sales pitch. It's literally they're seeing it from a different approach. If you had a buyer right now that is basically a FHA buyer that needs seller's assistance right now, a year and a half ago, you'd be happy as heck to have that as a buyer. Today, they're probably not qualified for the market. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's with no emotion attached to it. I mean, do I like it? No, I don't like it, but here's the deal. It is what it is, and we have to deal with it. So going forward with that, go ahead and next slide, please. So this is kind of a recap. What's going on here? We're looking at 1574 pending sales right now. We're getting, is that good or bad? Well, that's an increase of 37%. Our activity and the amount of homes that are pending has actually gone up 37%. The question is, are you getting your fair share? And if you're not, what are the individuals that are actually getting their fair share? What are they doing? Number of closed transactions, 13, what is that, 1346? That's up. So we sold more homes than we did last year, even though it's a tighter market. The margins are a lot tighter. Median sales price has increased 25%. Average prices increased 25%. These are some huge numbers, huge. Housing Affordability Index has actually, it shows a percentage decrease, which means the affordability has actually dropped. Things have gotten more expensive. Inventory of homes, that's in triple digits. That's insane. It's in the 600s. That's the lowest we've seen. So go ahead, do me a favor, next slide, please. Can you increase this? Because my eyes are shot, dude. I'm like the oldest one on this call and can't see anything.
Press that top one.
There we go. What's that again?
I got him changing the window he's selecting.
Got it. So therefore, what we're looking at there is we're looking at a bunch of different things with, which one was that slide? Was that closed sales? That wasn't closed sales, that's new listings. New listings coming on the market was 1505, and he's gonna get to it in here in a moment. So 1,500 new listings. The trend of what we've seen since December is we've had more listings come on the market every single month. The problem is we've seen more homes come off the market than have gone on. So our inventory is even dropping even further. You can only go down to zero. So therefore it's a supply demand issue.
Yes, yes, yes.
Less supply, higher demand means higher prices. So am I correct in stating that the majority of people have got a lot of cash buyers that are coming in purchasing with cash or a lot deeper down payments?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Can you foreclose on a home if somebody's buying cash?
No.
You can't foreclose. You can do a tax lien if they don't make payment, but you can't foreclose. So I'm going to make a very bold statement here. I see no issue with prices continuing at the rate they are if they're purchased the way that they are. There's a ton of people with equity in their homes right now.
And there's nothing to stop cash. You know, there is nothing to stop cash purchases.
As soon as the cash runs out.
Yeah, other than that.
Now, here's the thing. This is coming from many different sources, though, too. There's people taking money out of 401k. There's people selling a property that's in a higher price point location throughout the nation. And that's the discussion that we'll probably have here in a little bit, because here's the thing. There's a majority of people that are moving from California out here, and they sold their $1.5 million home, buying a $500,000 home out here, still have $1 million to put in their bank account now. Wouldn't you do the same thing? Oh, and their job, they're still working at the same job because they're working from home now.
Mm-hmm.
We need to understand this and understand it extremely quick. What that hurts is that hurts our local economy here in regards to people that have our jobs that are actually at the same rate what they were last year. and they're not increasing by 25%. That's the impact that we're going to start to see. And when you start to forecast forward, you're going to see a little bit of that here coming up. So as you see right there, I circled the 961 all the way down to 1505. So we've seen an increase on listings come on the market, which is good. I think everybody would tend to agree. If you had a listing, you could fog a mirror and sell it. Am I right? However, on the buy side, you're working your, you know what, off, because you're literally trying to strategically place the offer, get it in as quick as possible. They're not accepting offers until, you know, Sunday at X amount of time frame. There's different strategies that you use there, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit here. Next slide, please. Next slide. There we go. Pending sales. Oh, go back if you can. Pending sales. Pending sales are what? Those are up. As you'll notice, those are up since December as well. Now, if you take a look at it, if you take a look at the chart, just take a look at the chart, visual chart right there. That is literally the highest amount of pending contracts we've seen ever. So it's not that homes aren't selling. Oh, they're selling. There's more homes selling than there ever has been. So if more homes are selling, the question is, are you getting your fair share? Okay. Now that's in relation to back in, go back to December. You're looking at December, looking at what? 1,014 homes sold in December. And this is just resale. Just resale.
Aaron, one more thing on that.
Yeah.
How many aren't tracked on there? Because I don't know about any other agents on this call, but we have several that are under contract that aren't on the MLS.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. There is activity that is out there. We just have to find it. It's a very valid point. Next slide, please. So obviously pending is going to lead to sales. So that's 1346, right on course with where we typically are, just a little bit behind for seasonality right now. However, I think it's due to the fact that we've got lack of inventory. And they're going over to the new home build site of things if there are new home builds available. And we'll get into that here in a little bit as well. So if you take a look at the chart historically, you see a little bit of a pattern, except for this seesaw pattern that we're seeing right now for the past year, which is pretty interesting. And where we're going to come out of that, I'm predicting that we're going to actually kind of spike here in the upcoming months, which can be a good thing to add up. Next one, please. So days on market, obviously days on market 20, which means that most of the homes are selling in less than a month. That is the lowest that we've seen, it, with the exception of back in October when it was at 19. Okay. A lot of this, if you take a look at the townhome side on the right-hand side of the screen, that is the lowest that they've seen over there. In my opinion, it's due to the affordability of a townhome. There's a lot of buyers that can't get into a single family residence, so they revert to a townhome due to the price point. Next, please. Median sales price. We talked a little bit about this here. One thing I want you to pay attention to, go back to basically the fall of 2020 or 2011. Somebody give me a ballpark median price of single family resident back in 2011.
You're looking in the 130s, 140s in there.
Not too shabby. What are we at today?
320.
And if somebody purchased that with leveraged money, i.e. a loan on it, you tell me that whether that's a good investment or bad investment.
Low equity.
There you go. So therefore, home ownership is key. And we'll talk a little bit about that too, because home ownership is approximately a third of most Americans' net worth. So that's why we're seeing what we're seeing right now. People are understanding that and understanding the value of cash flow, et cetera. But bottom line is just the appreciation alone right here since 2011 has almost tripled. Okay. Now you can look at where would it have doubled at? You know, you can go basically, goodness, you're looking at right around the 2015 mark, 13 mark, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what's interesting is, and there's someone that just about everybody on here knows, although I'll go and leave them unnamed, but the decision they made was to sell their house, take advantage of the market where it's at right now, and they plan to rent for the next year and see where things go. So they're going to sell the house, cash out, sit on it, rent for a year, and then go decide what's happening next.
Interesting. Yeah. And here's the thing. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's story is different in their life. So therefore, guess what? It doesn't matter. As long as they have a plan to do it, fantastic. Where are they going to put the money? That's one of the biggest questions. Where are people coming in with this cash? You know, are they leveraging it? Are they doing a 1031? Are they doing, so there's a lot of different things that we're looking at. But bottom line is 320 up 25%, 25.5%. That's substantial. And that is not sustainable for the long term. But I don't think that it's going to drop 25% over the next 2-3 years either. And you'll see why. Next, please. Average sales price, pretty close to what your median is, which tells me one of two things. When these two things are in alignment like this, it tells me that the median homes are actually selling. And what I mean by median price, median sales, or pardon me, size, etc. We're starting to see this increase, see this sharp increase on the right-hand side. That tells me price points are increasing pretty quickly as well. If we go back many years ago, there was hardly anything over $1 million for sale in Tucson. Right now, we have a lot higher price point that's out there right now, and that is selling. So, fantastic job. That's actually a good thing. Okay. That being said, though, this is the highest ever when it comes to average price that we've ever seen. So good. So what's the probability if we're at the highest? What's the probability of it going higher versus lower? You know, you got to take a look at your lead indicators, and those lead indicators right now are pointing in the direction of higher right now. Mm-hmm. So just give you a heads up. Next, please. Percent of list price to sales price ratio, as you see right there, over 100%. This is a slide that I was talking about. This is the first time ever that we've seen this. Goodness. Everybody wants a deal, obviously, but right now there's buyers that just want a roof over their head.
That is the deal.
Yeah, that is a deal. And here's the thing too, and this is open for discussion later on too, is I truly predict there's a lot of people right now that are settling on their home. Mm-hmm. So that means in 3 to 5 years, they're like, you know what? It really wasn't the house that we really wanted. Now we're going to find the home that we really want. So from an outlook of with what's going on with real estate, I truly believe we're in a very robust market. We're going to have a lot of sales happening here in the future as well when people finally, you know, get the house that they really, really want later on, because right now they just have to get a roof over their head. And that's probably why we're seeing, and John can probably attest to this as well, statistically from a brokerage standpoint, and not only that, but from, you know, city-wise, we're seeing a high fallout rate. You know, a lot of buyers go under contract, and it's just like, well, did I really want the home? I just want to get the opportunity to go forward, but this really isn't what I wanted, so I'm just going to go ahead and back out.
Yeah, Aaron, I can attest to that's probably the number one thing that's making my phone ring right now. Is fallout rates in, during, and after inspection. Mm-hmm. It's maddening for the seller, I know. You know, my advice is to make sure that your buyer, if you have a listing, make sure your buyer has put feet on the property if possible. Encourage that. And, you know, someone just putting something under contract just to put it under contract is not good for any of us.
Correct. And not only that, but here's a strategic approach too. If you're dealing with buyers, don't hesitate in putting in a backup offer. That is actually a very good move in this market right now.
Aaron, for was under the understanding at one point I heard a stat that it was almost 30% of them are falling out.
35. Yep.
Is it 35 now? About 35% are falling out. So backup offer all day.
Yep. So don't be scared of it. Put it in, and if you think about it, that actually puts your buyer in the hot seat, which is good. And basically the seller is committed to that backup offer if something should fall through. It's also a sense of security for them. However, they also have the backup offer there. So just heads up on that. That's just a strategic move that you guys can do. Next slide, please. Affordability index. The chart's a little bit different for me because I look at it from a standpoint of, is it higher affordability or lower affordability? But bottom line is, as this drops lower, it just means it gets more expensive for the consumer. Affordability consumer goes down. So therefore we are starting to drop. And I am saying this right now, expect it to continue at a pretty high rate. There's a lot of different factors that come into play here. I'm going to show you something with inflation and what the heck is inflation, et cetera. But bottom line is, we're seeing higher paid jobs coming into Tucson. We saw minimum wages increasing. What are we seeing with rents right now? Everything across the board is increasing right now. Everything. So if everything is increasing, affordability is actually going down. Okay. Not that we want to hear that, but the one thing that we really need to pay attention to is what is happening with our income. Is it increasing at the same rate as inflation, or is it actually lower? And if it's lower, that means the value of your dollar, or your money, is actually going down as well. So next slide, please. Inventory of homes. Well, this is a no-brainer. I think we understand this one here. Inventory of homes down to 662. Does anybody remember what it was back in 2006? Anybody that's been in real estate long enough for 2006? I know that was a long time ago.
It wasn't around like 6,000 or 7,000.
It was over 10.
Aaron, it was 10,321.
I heard Sean Edgar say 10,321. So just think about that on how it would be different right now for your buyers if you were sitting at half of that. Let's just say 5,000 homes on the market. So this slide right here is what you show to a buyer and say, this is why you need to be serious. Also, your list price to sales price ratio is also there. You combine those two, this is what's happening. Now, where do you want to position yourself in this market? So this right here, I'm telling you right now, I don't know how much lower we can go. I just don't. Especially with new builders slowing down their build times because they can't purchase goods. They can't get the lumber, electrical. So we're in stalemate. Next slide, please. Month supply of inventory. Obviously, that's a half a month. So that tells me that's cash. I know I was talking with Sean Edgar last month and just the other day about this. There used to be a stat that we were able to track at how many properties were being purchased via cash, VA, FHA, and conventional. That's obviously not in the stats that they provide right now, and I can't find a point of contact. However, here's the thing. The majority of homes that are being sold right now have either a lot of cash down or they purchase outright with cash. A lot of the things that we've been seeing are people will purchase with cash and they'll turn around and put a loan on it. Mm-hmm. So they're still going to finance it, but they borrowed from their grandparents or their parents or whoever in the family, and they paid them back. We're seeing a lot of that. So is it cash? It is, but it's just being leveraged until somebody can get a loan on it. That makes sense? So it's kind of a little bit of a facade there, but a half a point or a half a month inventory. Yes. Vicky asked a question there. What was that question there? Are buyers panicking because housing is scarce? In my opinion, yes. They're not as picky as they used to be, that's for sure.
Hey, Aaron, you had mentioned earlier, and I think this goes along with that, people are panicking just to kind of get something under contract. They got to have a roof over their head, right? So I was part of a meeting, and a gentleman in California, a listing agent, is paying for an inspection before he puts the listing live, and he's putting that out there. He's calling it a certified pre-owned, but essentially he's trying to negate that second negotiation through the repairs. So everything's up front, everything's, all the buyers have access to it. And then they can go and they can make a decision. And he said he is netting more to his sellers because everything's out front and everything's disclosed.
Well, it keeps things in contract as well.
Mm-hmm.
Another strategy to use is non-refundable earnest money. Now, here's the thing. It's not whether you like it or not. I'm just telling you how things are working. Non-refundable earnest money at time of contract. Also, let's just go ahead and add on another 10,000 non-refundable earnest money after the inspection period. How much stronger of an offer is that than somebody else? Different tactics to use, but here's the thing. We have to go to extreme measures if you're going to want to get something under contract right now. Your skill set's got to increase. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with the other 80% of the agents that are out there. Same thing, and everybody thinks it's about the price. Yes, it is. Don't get me wrong. There was a Warren Buffett quote. Gosh, I'm going to butcher this. What was it? When people start getting greedy, I start getting scared, is what he was talking about. Very, very similar here. What's happening with sellers? The majority of sellers can start to get greedy right now. What happens when people get greedy?
Stupid things.
Yeah, irrational decisions are made too. And when people get scared, they make irrational decisions. Am I right? So if you're able to educate people in this process and say, hey, we're just making decisions upon the data that we're seeing right now. I'm sorry, that is old. Because currently right now, it's even a little bit more fierce out there than what these stats show. Put yourself in the position if you had to buy a house today. Well, let me ask you this. If you're like, hey, you know what? I'm looking at the value of my home and it's up. Oh my gosh, I bought it for $200 and it's worth $520 right now. Yeah, it'd be great to sell it, but then where are you going to move? That's what your sellers are dealing with. Unless they're like, you know what? We already have a place out in, I don't know, Kansas City, and we're already moving there. A little bit different mindset. So just keep that in consideration with some of these sellers as well. Next slide, please. So I threw this in there because this is the hot topic right now. It's not all about home prices. Home prices should be going up. The reason they should be going up is because inflation's going up. And it's going up quickly, as you see. So inflation, Larry, do me a favor. Larry Hilliard, I'm picking on you because I know you know a little bit about this. What the heck is inflation and why does it matter?
Well, inflation is the gross domestic product based, isn't it?
Yep.
So
it's cost good. It's what's happening, what we're paying for stuff. A percentage increase on everything across the board. So if you had $1,000 sitting in a bank account that's earning 0%, you're actually losing $2.60 a year. You're losing money, or you're losing the value of money just by letting it sit. Now, obviously, our prices are increasing at what, 25% right now? That's blowing it out of the water. However, I predict what we're going to start to see is we're going to see this gap starting to shorten up. We're going to see inflation increase in prices, whether they flatline or whether they just go up just a little bit. We're going to shorten that gap because affordability is a big concern right now. And the reason I say affordability is a big concern is because, next slide, please. We're looking at rental rates. Rental rates over the past 2 years, if you take a look at it, median was at 1,400, now you're at 1,600. Those aren't going down anytime soon. So think about this. If you have somebody they can't afford to buy right now, my concern is they're not going to be able to afford to rent. That's a concern because this can't increase dramatically. There's different locations throughout the nation. I know Colorado's one, I think Michigan's another one, and I know California's another one, where they're putting restrictions on landlords being able to increase rents to a certain amount. We've done a very good job educating our sphere our clients on how, how good of an asset that your home is, turn around and rent it out and have positive cash flow, etc. So why should they sell? If you talk to any investor, one of the biggest regrets they have is selling a property, unless it was a, money pit. But if they got cash flow coming in, the question is, why would you sell? Same thing with the homeowners right now. So we have to understand that. And the only way to get out of that is literally build more homes. And we're stuck there. Next slide, please. So new home sales. Let's run through this here real quick. Somebody, Dan Calvo, you're the first one up there. Do me a favor, read that for me if you don't mind.
So we thought that the 26% increase first quarter for 2020 was impressive, but first quarter permit totals for 2021 completely outpaced the year to 45.91%. This market is hot, folks, and until the resale market listings normalize, we can expect this to continue. Average new home price is $391,722 with a median new price of $335,100 with a percentage change of almost $54,000. That's huge.
The good thing is this is in print for you to utilize.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It's not to talk somebody off the fence, because right now those people, there's a lot of buyers that want to buy. It's not talking them off, the ledge there to whether they should or not. They just can't. So they got to get real serious with what they have, whether or not they want to. Because here's the thing, I don't know. This is an interesting discussion, because the last thing that I would ever want right now is another buyer lead.
Facts.
Everybody would be jumping for joy if you had a buyer lead, 12 months ago. Because you're going to have to do your job. You're going to have to educate them, sit them down and show them what's going on. And they may or may not want to continue. It's just that simple. They may want to wait it out. They said, we're going to rent for another year, and that's fine. Indicators go in that direction. Doesn't look too favorable right now, unless they're going to be purchasing with cash. Next slide, please. Who else? Somebody else jump in.
New home consumer demand remains high, and some changes in home builders permitting behavior will continue to feed the permit number. But the increasing material and labor costs, along with increased build times and price increases, should have some dampening effect as we move into the third and fourth quarters. The amount of new home product under construction or near completion in the Tucson market is at one of the historic highs, and the expectation is this inventory will impact the number of new home closings as we move into the summer months.
Okay, somebody recap that and give me a different synopsis on it.
I'm reading it as they're slightly rolling off.
Mm-hmm. Has anybody had any experience? What's the normal build time right now for a new home build? Anybody?
9 months.
9 months? What was that?
9 months to a year, depending on some builders.
So let me ask you this. Does that not knock out some buyers?
Absolutely.
I can't wait a year to get a home built. Also be aware of different addendums that can be slid in front of you. Meaning, hey, we understand that you're locking in at this price right now. I see something else, a custom build for 18 months to 2 years. That's crazy. That being said, that addendum can, state that, hey, we have the ability to increase price up to a certain percentage due to labor costs increasing. So, it may not be the price that they locked in at. And we don't know what's going to happen with interest rates. There's, I don't want to get into that crystal ball, but I don't see it increasing dramatically in the near future either. However, it may just knock them out of the affordability index by then. That's the risk that people are taking right now. So, because they're not able to lock in for a year out. Anybody else have any kind of input on new home builds? What they're seeing out there with them right now? Did anybody go into a new home build this last month?
I can tell you that I spoke with a couple of custom builders and semi-customs, and I am watching clients say, we're not going to engage in this because we're not going to take the chance of that build cost going up and not having an ETA on when the house is going to be finished. To the point that they chose not to relocate to Tucson because of this. They said they're going to wait for our market to settle down, and they can't foresee when that will be. And instead, they're going to hang out in the Midwest and continue to shovel snow.
Yeah, the other thing on that is they cannot give an estimated time, like she just said, as far as completion, because they don't know when or if they're going to run into a shortage of materials down the road, because they can't predict that.
Additionally, I'm hearing permit time in particular areas is just crazy, and they can't estimate when the permits will actually be approved by the town or the city.
So a lot of that unknown, that increases anxiety, doesn't it?
Well, it's pushing people back into the resale market.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I totally agree with that.
Also, I had a new builder talk to me about putting some type of clause in there. Just because you buy it at this price doesn't mean you're going to sell at this price when they're done building it.
That's insane. If you think about that logic, that's a hard pill to swallow. I get it. In other words, it tells me that whatever's on paper today doesn't mean anything for the future. But when I go to close on this property.
Question, do you think this would force builders to build spec homes and not offer them for sale until they're done? Because then they'll know what their final true cost is?
Good question. I don't know, James. I don't know. I think that there could be a combination of the two, because you know exactly what the price is today, but you don't know what it's going to be in 15 months.
If they're behind on the inventory they're contracted with, how can they all of a sudden step out and start building spec homes, material, labor, all that stuff, being on a shortage? They don't have the ability to build spec homes when they can't even meet their contracts.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Don't put them under contract. Their crews are working. They're building homes. Just switch it around. I mean, if I'm that builder, hey, I'm gonna build a product and hope or know based on statistics that the market is going to go up, and maybe it cost me more to build it today, but I'm going to sell it for that much more. I mean, Aaron, we have that example of that kid that canceled on that house that, what is it, 80 grand more than when he went under contract? The builder was waiting for him to cancel, right? I don't know. It'd be an interesting conversation with some of the higher ups, the sales managers with these companies, to find out if they have any indication of that.
Well, the thing that we know of is, if you take a look at this slide right here, permits are not slowing down. And you know it, and as well as I know it, James, they're in the business to make money.
Maybe that number with the permits not slowing down is the indicator that they are building specs and they're not offering them up for sale.
And this isn't a bash towards any builder whatsoever, but they're looking at, and they've already executed and they're continuing to do it, is they're chopping commissions too. Literally down to zero. Because quite frankly, they don't need us to sell their property. They got a backlog of buyers. Think about that a little bit. So you better protect the way that you do your business. Because if you are very, very heavy on the buy side with new home builders, and something shifts that's beyond your control, that can have a huge impact. So just consider that and look at that. And we've talked about this before. There are many different states throughout the nation that there is no co-op. And what I mean by that, the buyer agent, they work for buyer, and the buyer pays them compensation through a buyer broker. We just have been in the habit of understanding that this is the way it works here, not necessarily throughout the nation. So if there's a 3% co-op that's being offered by a particular builder, they're able to save 3% right there. I get it. We can say we can wait this out, or it could become the new norm. Think about that too. That's meaning that you're not willing to change the way that you're doing business. So you just ran yourself out of business. They didn't run you out of business. That's a tough pill to swallow, but I think we really have to look at that with the ever-changing industry that we're in right now. Next slide, please. Who's next? Somebody? Next. All right, I'm going to pick on somebody. Megan Pickering, I haven't talked to you forever, girl.
The resale listing inventory remains at historic lows with only minor indications that this will change in the coming months. We can expect continuing upside resale demand and upward price pressures on resales over the next several months as temptations by resale owners to sell by rising resale values across the country grows.
All right, the way I read that, and I keyed in on the word minor. Minor indications that this will change. So the probability is we're going to be in this for a while, for right now. So that being said, get used to it. This is, and I don't want to, this is the new norm right now. It's going to be like this for a little while, so we have to understand that. Would it be, this is a dumb question. I think you know the answer to this. From a business model approach, if you are heavy on the listing side, is that advantageous versus heavy on the buy side?
Right now, hell yes.
That's right. So that's what we should be concentrating on are what? Listings. 9 times out of 10 right now, if you've got a plethora of buyers that you've got basically on the sidelines trying to buy homes, and you go out and find a listing, there's a high probability that you got a buyer already matched up for them.
You know, basically a listing right now is a paycheck in 30 days or less.
That's right. And you can manage a lot more listings than you can buyers right now. Just look at that. Just think about that a little bit and then restructure on your lead generation levers on who you're calling, who you're talking to. Done. Okay.
Do you see what Vicky is saying here? The note just came up. She's got a lender that'll close in 7 days.
That's fantastic. That might be extremely important to a seller that's got a vacant property. Huge. So just consider. And Vicky, do me a favor, put your phone number in the text, please, for those that don't know. Next slide, please. All right, somebody next. Who am I going to pick on now? I'm going to pick on Jen O'Rourke. Let's do it.
All right. First, the new home builders in the Tucson market need a shout out for offering more entry-level products, filling the gap left by the resale market. The year-over-year median price change percentage has leveled out over the last 6 months, as the 6-month trend line suggests in the second graph below.
Perfect. All right, so I'm going to break this down a little bit. That's actually really good news. So those first-time home buyers that are out there looking, yes, it may be increasing in price, but it's not increasing at the rate that the price band is for secondary homes and above. As you notice, the last 5 months have been pretty much a flat line in the second graph there for price change increase. But if you look at it overall on the chart that we saw earlier on price increases for all of the market, it's trying to keep the prices down in the first time home buyer market. Does that make sense? However, we can't control prices because it's supply demand. Buyers that are currently moving into, let me ask you this. If a buyer is moving into a $200,000 property with 20% down, that's a $160,000 loan. What is the mortgage rate on that? Ballpark. Not going to hold you to it. Somebody, we're real estate agents here, and there's 67 of us. Somebody please tell me what a ballpark figure would be.
Should be around 3%.
No, I'm saying, what is their mortgage? 160,000. Ballpark.
Oh, 700, 8.
$100.
Okay, let me ask you this. Where can you find a rental for that?
1 bedroom
Nowhere.
apartment on the south side.
There you go. Maybe. The point is they can purchase a lot more for where the rental rates are at right now. That's my concern long term, is we're gonna see that kind of get squeezed out. Next slide, please. Yay, Jason Carlton. Are you in Tucson? Are you out in hey, this is Jason's first time on Zoom. Go ahead and unmute yourself there, Jason.
I'm in Missouri.
There you go. So do me a favor, go ahead and read away and stay warm while you're at it there, bud.
Yep, happy to. All right, the Southeast submarket leads the pack in March on the strength of KB Home at Bella Terra and Richmond American's Seasons at Old Vale, to name a few. The Marana West submarket was led by D.R. Horton's 31 closings in the Saguaro Bloom subdivisions.
Okay. So this basically kind of shows you exactly where the growth of Tucson is going right now. So if you don't know where the Southeast is, obviously, kind of orientate yourself and get an idea where these homes are being built, because this is where the sales are happening. And not only that, but also take a look at, it'll probably be the next slide here in a moment, talking about who the builders are. Know their products, know what's going on, get on the list. Our new home builders, from my understanding, they're doing waiting lists as well, lotteries, etc. as well, just to get on the list. So it's an interest list or whatever, if you want to call it that, to where, hey, if you're interested, bingo, get on the list. And then when they do become available, then you'll be thrown in the hat to possibly bid on those homes. So therefore, the top 2 locations are the Marana West and also the Southeast. That's where the growth of the city is going right now. And you'll see a little bit of a heat map here in just a few minutes from a visual standpoint on that. Next slide, please. There we go. So that's the heat map. We can get into the all the verbiage here, but basically the red hot spots, as you'll notice, there's really not a lot of stuff going on in the heart of Tucson. It's on the outskirts of Tucson. There's a small little hot pocket downtown Tucson, et cetera, from a new home build standpoint. And I think we all understand this. There's just no land to be built on. So that being said, that's why we're seeing the Southeast. We're seeing a little bit of the northwest there, up, Gladden Farms area. Even Red Rock right now is on fire. So that's literally where things are expanding. Sarita as well. There's a hot little market down there. So that's where obviously homes are being built, and that's where we're spreading to. So if you take a look at, and I think there's one more slide maybe, and if not, this might be the last one. Is that the last slide? Good to go. Oh, there we go. So these are the top 3 permits that are going out, and permits obviously are what? That's where homes are going to be built. They've done all their paperwork to get it through the system, and that's where they're going to be built here right now. So we're talking about KB Homes, Richmond American, and Lennar. And one of those in the top 3 have actually drastically reduced the amount of commissions for agents. So in the event to where the other 2 builders follow suit, that puts a pinch in your pocketbooks if you haven't set up your business plan appropriately. Make sense? So questions? Last slide. I think that's the last slide, unless there's one more. Good to go. That's it. So talk to me, guys. What what are some takeaways? What are you guys seeing? What kind of trends do we have, and what kind of tactics that we can kind of use going forward?
Aaron, we have a lot of newer agents on the call. What advice would you give them to ramp up or to begin their listing business?
Gotcha. You know what? It's a good question, because I think that's exactly what everybody else is trying to figure out right now. Do me a favor to take the slideshow off, please. That right there is a very tough question. It's going to be a lot of lead generation lever that you're going to have to literally hunker down with. I'm a big advocate right now of circle prospecting on homeowners that have actually purchased anywhere from 2010 to 2012. You know darn well they've got a lot of equity that are in their homes right now. And if they've been in it for 10 years, there's a higher probability of them moving into another property, a move up. We're not seeing as an extreme amount of competitiveness with a higher price properties, even though we are there. But that is what I would be focused on. Getting out there, talking to people left and right, letting them know what's going on with the market, even letting them know what potential equity they have in their home. Because if we really think about it, and like I mentioned earlier, the majority of Americans, 1/3 of real estate, or 1/3 of their net worth is in real estate. It's an obvious, this is an obvious observation here, but you got to own a home in order to participate in that 1/3. So we're seeing people pull money from different areas, et cetera, or they leverage the equity in their property to purchase more property, et cetera. So where do you find it? I think you find it with the people that have money right now. So you're going to have to use that. Unless anybody else has any better ideas.
And those are people that bought, really in the last, 5 years before. They probably have money that they may or may not be aware that they're sitting on.
We were on our daily call this morning with all of our locations, and one of the agents in Las Vegas. I believe the buyer purchased in 2017, just listed the property and just went under contract last night, and they're going to net just very, very close to 100K in the last, 4 years. So not too shabby. I don't know if everybody that owns a home is understanding the extreme market that we're currently in. However, the drawback is, well, where am I going to move if I sell? That's
and again, we continue to see the stats where people are choosing to stay in their houses longer. If they've done remodeling and things like that, they're happy where they are, regardless of when they bought, and they're sitting on the equity of that kind of thing. It's almost like, how many of these people are can we actually uproot out of their homes that they're actually comfortable in? Not that many of them, and it's proven by the fact that those numbers are dwindling the way they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been prospecting out there, and we actually had somebody respond to us today that was like, I'm not going to buy a home for $600,000 that's less than the current home that I moved into, which is back into her investment property, because the market is so crazy across the nation.
I think Jay and Aaron, and I think for everybody, and especially if there's a lot of newer agents on here, I think with the ability to go and to start doing some live classes again, I think resurrecting the Ignite listings class. All right, for anybody that wants a refresher, or for the new agents, but doing the in-person and Zoom, the hybrid or whatever, just refocusing on listings right now, because that's where the money is.
Or even 36-12-3, so they can learn how to lead generate at a high level.
Mm-hmm. So where's the cash coming from then? Let me ask you guys that.
Out of state.
California,
Colorado, Wyoming.
So a little bit about how a third of net income is coming from real estate. So that tells me that's a real estate piece. The other third is the active income, which meaning their job, their salary, etc. The other one is the stock market. What have we seen with the stock market? It's just been increasing. So we're not seeing a big pull of money out of the stock market, so to speak, if you look at things in the grand scheme of things. So it's got to be the income levels have increased, And we know that there's some businesses that have exploded during this pandemic and others to where they, drop through the floor. So we start to look at, they're pulling from homes, they're pulling the equity out of their home, using it as cash. They're literally looking at, selling a home, using it as cash. And yeah, I'm probably some stuff that's in the market, but not too aggressively. And why does that matter? It matters because that's the type of market that we're currently in order to get a home sold or purchased. If you're on the buyer side, you got to be aggressive, extremely aggressive. This is not what we're used to. If I go back, and I'm gonna show my age a little bit here, but I specifically remember being in the military. My paycheck for 2 weeks was $323.11, $323.11. My rent at the time was $310 a month. So debt to income ratios were just under 50% on just housing alone. Now you fast forward, that was in 87. You fast forward 30 years, let's say, there's not too much different there. If you think about it, because that same property right now, or that same, it was an apartment at the time, is literally going to be renting for what? $1,500. However, from a habitual mindset, what we think about is like, oh man, that's just too expensive. Well, what's it going to be like in another 20 years from now? That's inflation. See what I'm getting at? So keeping our eye on the inflation numbers, on what's happening there, makes us feel like we're spending more when the value of the product actually can stay the same. So we're seeing an increase in prices. And as long as it's matching up with the inflation rates, we're okay. But right now we're not. It is jumping dramatically because of the type of lifestyle that people are in. We got an Airbnb of the last 4 people that have rented, 3 of them actually have come from California that actually have their job in California, but they just don't want to stay there anymore. They got rid of their property and they're just Airbnb-ing it everywhere. Here, Colorado, New Mexico, because they can work from anywhere that has internet. That's a totally different move than what we had before. They were forced to do that. Now companies right now are working anywhere where they have internet. We're on a Zoom call right now. We're doing the exact same thing. Some of you, one of you I know right now is in a totally different location. You're in Missouri. See what I'm getting at? It's a totally different mindset. What does that have to do with housing though? Bottom line is people are rearranging their homes to have home offices. And if they don't have it, they need to buy a home that's going to be able to accommodate that. So a lot of different things are happening with the way that we're doing things right now. That's how it affects housing. Anything else on property values? Because ultimately, isn't that what we're talking about today? What's happening with property values? The public wants to know.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
So we had a VA loan get under, it was appraised at what I had listed it at. However, of course, it didn't, the purchase price was 20 grand above that. I don't feel like VA is keeping up with the trend.
You're absolutely correct.
So I don't know how to fight that, because my comps, like you said, I have to go off comps. I have to give them fact information of what has already closed. And, the last house that closed in March is not end of May, June. So I don't know. I don't know what to do in that situation.
Right now, appraisers are in a tough spot. They really are. That being said, you as a listing agent, you're in a kind of a tough spot trying to convey the message on the true value of their home. Because right now, quote me if I'm wrong, buyers are buying emotionally right now. They're buying out of scarcity. They're buying off emotion. Some of them, like, I don't care what I gotta do. I just gotta get into a home. You go to look at certain areas of Tucson, there may be 4 homes that are active right now, or actually before you got on this call, and all of them are currently have offers on them before you get off of this call. That's realistically, we have to deal with that. We have to paint that picture to the buyer. And Amber, you're a vet, I'm a vet. We've got a lot of clients that are veterans. We've got to teach them this and go, hey, listen, I get it. You're coming in here, but bottom line is you're at a disadvantage right now with a VA loan. Tell them the way it is. And let me show you why. Now, what would you like to do? Well, you know what? If I put $80,000 down, let's say they have it, the majority don't though, then guess what? You don't have to have an appraisal now. You don't have to worry about that now. But is that setting them up for long term? Because guess what? They may be moving in 3 years from now, 5 years from now. I get it. How bad do you want the home? Because somebody else is willing to do that. And some of you may understand this a little bit more, but you have somebody that's doing a 1031 exchange from California to where if they don't find a home, they got to pay the capital gains tax of $150,000. Why wouldn't they offer $50,000 over?
Yeah.
They're saving $100,000 by offering $50,000 over. Does that make sense to you?
Hey, Aaron?
Yeah.
One thing I have been doing when I do have VA buyers, and I do have VA buyers, but one thing when I talk to the other agent and let them know it's coming, I reiterate that this is a gift we are giving our veterans. They have every right to use this VA loan. They've earned it. They should be able to use it at no discredit to them. And I just try to emphasize that when I put in an offer. I know that's scary because the appraisal part, but I do try to emphasize it is our duty to honor our veterans and allow them to use what they're eligible to use. So I really reiterate that. And I put it in my letter that I send to them, like, here's our contract. We're giving this to our veteran. And so I really emphasize that because it is true. They've earned this right. They should be able to use their VA loan.
And you know what?
It's a wonderful thing that they're able to do this. So I know it's corny, but maybe it'll speak to someone who is another veteran.
Correct. And you know what? It has. There's other veterans that understand that. If there's a veteran.
Right. So I really emphasize that it's their right to be able to use this loan that they've worked hard for, that they earned every right. So I just emphasize that when I put that in.
Mhm.
Whether it helps or not, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think that can help. However, you're going to have a seller that's basically like, well, you know what, for $40,000 more, I think this other one over here that's full cash.
Yeah, it's sad that, because I've had people say if it was, VA or FHA, we didn't even look at it. We just looked at cash and conventional, which is not fair.
Yeah.
So.
What else?
But I think it's important when you're calling to submit an offer, you do call the agent.
So let me
and have a conversation.
Let me ask you this. How can you put your buyer in the driver's seat in this kind of market though?
Me specifically?
Anybody. How can you put your buyer strategically, if you're going to go ahead and put an offer on a property that they love? This is my home. This is the house that I want.
Do the best you can do. That's all. And connect with the other agent if you can, if they answer their phone.
Yep.
But if they've got 20 offers, it's very hard. Just put your best foot forward. That's all you can do.
So I'm hearing get pre-approved, obviously, not just qualified.
Don't ask for anything.
Don't ask for anything.
It doesn't hurt to send a cover letter from your buyers, just personalizing it. We're a young couple, we just got married, we want to grow in your home, that kind of thing. It personalizes it.
Yep. There's a lot of different little things. So here's the other thing to consider, whether or not you do it or not. We've used it with some pretty good success, is a sunset clause, which means, hey, listen, and it's got to have some explanation to it, because here's the thing. Amber, I'll give you an example. You said, well, somebody was on there earlier saying that they got beat out on, it was actually Shannon. Put an offer in on a property and then they waited till Sunday to review all offers, etc. Well, if you put an offer in on a Friday night, say, hey, listen, this offer is only good until 12 o'clock noon on Saturday, tomorrow morning. That's it. And it's going to be, let's say the property's listed at 250. We're going to be willing to offer 260 and pay a portion of X amount of dollars towards your closing costs. After 12 o'clock tomorrow, though, it reverts back to a full price offer. The reason we're doing this is because my buyer is going to buy a property this weekend. We can't sit around and wait until Sunday. When a seller understands that a little bit, they're like, oh, wait a minute here. Do we risk it, or do we just go ahead and accept this one? See what I'm saying? It may or may not fit all parties, but here's the thing. It puts your buyer in the driver's seat to where they can move on and go to a different property.
Mhm.
This has worked very well nationally with a lot of our different locations in this kind of a market right now. But you don't just send it over and just let it be. You have to communicate with the listing agent. Hey, listen, this is why we're doing this. This isn't a game that we're playing. It's just literally our buyer is buying a property. If they want to go ahead and get this over with and ahead of time, and I understand that you're reviewing all offers on Sunday, but right now you may have 4 or 5. I don't care. This is what they're willing to do right now because we're going to move on. Totally different tactic. Anybody else have anything whatsoever? As you notice, I didn't say waiving appraisal. I didn't say any of that stuff.
Oh, I know. If sellers are on the fence about selling because what are we going to do? I have to sell my house first. Guild Mortgage is now doing bridge loans, which hasn't been around for a long time. So that's helpful. There is a cost to do it, but that can get you at least so that you know you have something and then sell your home. And
leasebacks are huge too.
Leasebacks are very huge. Yeah.
Right now, what does your seller want? When do they want to move out? Well, they still have to buy. Well, okay, well then you may lease back for 6 months. Try to cater to the seller in that way right now, because bottom line is it's not all about the price, but a lot of it is. The big chunk of it is. Hey, John, have you seen anything in regards to where a trend that you're seeing in this market that's been working pretty well? Do you know?
Well, it's funny because, I do business as well. So I did use your sunset clause up in the Phoenix area when we were talking about it with success. So you're right. We definitely need to explain it because not everybody understands it. And it does feel like a game to them unless you actually put some thought behind it. So agree to definitely explain your actions with an email. Communication is the key. Besides post-possession, I mean, that's huge right now. Even as far as 30, 60, 90 days with the willingness to let them stay until they find something. So just make sure you have the proper paperwork in place. So if anybody needs help on that, reach out to us. We have some really good post-possession agreements that address a lot of problems up front. Deposit, what happens if they don't move out? What is the rent going to be? So keep those kind of things in mind. Post-possession is probably the #1 thing I'm seeing, besides waiving appraisal or coming to the table with additional funds if it does not appraise.
Well, good. Does anybody have any questions whatsoever?
I do have one more. I read something on a listing that I was looking at that it said first review of offers will, it's a going open house on the weekend. First review of offers Monday at noon. But then they wrote in a line that said, however, seller reserves the right to accept any offer at any time, which means that offers are getting reviewed before Monday at noon. So it's kind of countering itself. But how is there a legal issue there?
They put the terms out there. I would say no. I mean, at any time, we all experienced it where they say they're going to review and select on a certain day, and the next thing you know, it's under contract. I think the agent's just trying to be polite and respectful to let them know, hey, we might possibly make a decision, so bring your best and final first. Okay, so I just think it's a marketing ploy.
Right. So like I said, I'm seeing that more and more. It seems like that's usable and there's not an issue with that?
I don't believe there's an issue.
All right, thanks.
I'm going to give you my perspective, and this is coming from an individual that's an extremely high D. Put the offer in. Don't even wait.
Yeah.
I don't care I don't care what's in the verbiage. I just put an offer in.
Well, yeah, offers can be put in. The question is, again, I'm talking about a listing agent saying first review will be Monday at noon, but but they accept it or have the right to accept an offer at any time or something like that, that kind of counteracts the first review at Monday at noon. You're basically saying, no, it's not going to be first review Monday at noon because you're talking about reviewing on Saturday or Sunday if you're accepting before Monday.
So advise your buyer to swing for the fences first.
There you go. I was going to say,
Does that go back to the,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
does that go back to the integrity of the listing agent and the clients? I would think. I just had my first experience as a listing agent this past weekend, and everything was phenomenal. And I didn't do any of those things. We didn't review any offers until Monday afternoon, evening, and I spoke live to all buying agents. So I just wonder if it goes to the integrity of the agent a little too.
We can.
And how they run their business.
Yep. So we got to be real careful not talking about agents and integrity and positive and negatives. So, but I hear what you're saying. It's an easy thing to read and take that into account when your client puts in an offer, and to say, okay, here's what they're saying. They could do it any time, but if this is the house you love, again, swing for the fences first.
And I recommend putting in backup offers. I was a second backup and we got it. So people change their mind, back out for whatever reason. And this is the house she wanted. She says, I don't care. I'm going to do second backup. And she got it. So it happens.
Internet buyers are just putting stuff under contract just so they think they can get something, and they continue to shop. So like Aaron and I both said, 35% are dropping out. So I would strongly encourage to work the backup market.
Good. Anything else? Going once? Anybody? Mike, Whiting, anything?
I appreciate, I'll give you, thanks Aaron for leading this. One thing that I would love to maybe address in our next stats meeting is with the prospective changes in taxes. How is that going to affect things? So that's on the docket to discuss later.
So just give a recap of what that looks like right now is the talk or the chatter, and this is nothing political, is if capital gains tax go up to 39.5%, what impact does that have? I'll just give you a snippet. Why would I sell? I'm not going to sell. It would impact the listing side dramatically.
Well, it could impact people that want to sell before that goes into place.
See a huge increase, and then boom, now you have the serious long-term investor.
Yep. All right, guys, we appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks everyone that contributed. And we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you.